moderating this session today. So thank you very much, Dheeraj sir, for giving this opportunity to me. The topic which we will be discussing today is on SDG for quality education. And since we all know that this 21st century is asking for certain changes. We are looking for changes around, and we all know there are 4 C's on which we are concentrating a lot. Communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creative thinking. Along with that, we are also concentrating more on citizenship and character. So we all as educators, academicians, people working in the field of in government, if you are working in government, we would also be discussing a lot about what we will be doing in developing 21st century skills, especially for our children. So, being a senior most panelist, I would ask the first question to Dr. Rashmi Tyagi. So the first question for you, ma'am, is what do you think we should do in developing the 21st century skills in our children, worldwide? Not only the South Asian, but worldwide, we need to develop 21st century skills in our children. So what do you suggest we should do in this area?
Thank you very much for this question, which is the need of the time. And I will add here, is my proud privilege to be here at Sri Lanka and to be interacting with just wonderful academicians, teachers and other members. As Dr. Shilpa, she has asked me a relevant question for today, for the 21st decade, then I will just request all the educators here that you have to forget the past, the traditional teaching learning systems, and then you have to teach the students the 21st century skills, and it is collaboration, creativity, then communication, and all these critical thinking and creative thinking, and then you have to do the digital literacy, information literacy and media literacy, and all these things you have to teach your students, and how you can train them, that you have to give situations to your students about critical thinking, because you are going to wonder that how we are going to teach all these things, like situations, what will happen if this takes place, and then creativity. You give them lots of opportunities to do some activities in the class, and I want to tell you, it is a 21st century skill and it is going to capture the market, that is the creativity. So those, just remembering and understanding those kind of assessment also we don't have to give, and then teaching, learning in a different way. You have to tell the students, and values are very important for 21st century, and attitudes also, and so many other things. So you have to teach them all that in the classrooms, and you have to design your lesson plans accordingly, that what kind of projects, what kind of assignments and other things you are going to tell the child. And that way, one more pedagogy which is we should teach our students, that is research-based pedagogy, creative pedagogies, and then game-based pedagogy. And we want to have happy classroom, happy curriculum. So this is what we should do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rashmi ma'am, for your so good insights you have given to us. My next question goes to Madam Tilaka Jayasundara. Ma'am, what role do you think government should play in developing a proper education curriculum system, as well as the sports, involving sports into education?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to the panel discussion. As the senior government officials of Sri Lanka, I believe that always we want to develop all the educational curriculums according to the requirement and the needs of the country and the world. Today, we all know that. I'm asking you that, do we understand the difference between and among the generations of baby boomers, X generation, Y generation, Z generation and Alpha generation? Are we identifying the difference requirement of these generations? Are we identifying the real needs and thoughts of these generations. I feel that according to the requirement of the world, globally, we want to identify the gap between these generations. My son, he is 22 years old. He is representing Z generation. I'm representing the X generation. So, if as a mother, if I cannot understand my son's requirement and thinking, I'm not a real mother. As I believe, like that, we definitely must change the school education curriculum according to the requirement. Global thinking is important, and also as a nation, any country must develop the competent human resource for catering the country requirement. I believe that sports also is very important. Through the sports education, we can ensure the active and healthy nations can work more for the country. So as I believe that in these days, the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs, we are in the process to develop the requirements, and based on that requirements, we already identified the requirements. Based on these requirements, we are developing the educational curriculum, especially for the young generation. We are in a process to develop the vocational training curriculums. Based on that, globally, especially this forum, I really appreciate that you are always catering to look after the early childhood care and development. Ensuring the early childhood development, we have to identify the alpha generation requirement. So, alpha generation may think globally, they will act globally. They will consider that they don't have the boundaries in this world. So without the boundaries, how we want to develop those generations for the future? That kind of thinking we must have. As the senior government officials, I feel that this is very interesting forum. I really appreciate and enjoy this forum. Today I feel that I came to cater into the future generation of this world. So I believe that we definitely must consider on that. At the end, I like to take this opportunity to thank your organization, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India. Thank you very much for organizing this wonderful summit. This is a big eye-opener for all the countries and all the officials and all the developers, and all expertise are here to consider together to develop our early childhood and the education for future generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I reiterate the fact that along with India, Sri Lanka is also going to be the youngest nation in the whole world soon. And as I told yesterday, we all the entire globe, the entire world is looking forward for countries like us to provide a good human resource to everyone. So I think, ma'am, you all are rightly working towards achieving those goals. Now my next question is to Ms. Dr. Sagarika Bhatia, because she is also working into the same lines, for sports development and everything. So I would like to ask you, Sagarika ma'am, what is your idea about the SDG 4 with respect to sports, and also in the context of Indian economy?
Yeah. So currently, SDG 4 of course speaks about education, about empowering learners, but at the same time it also speaks about mental health and wellness of the learners. And mental health of wellness of the learners, which is of prime importance, especially in times wherein it's a VUCA world and the life of children, sometime back we told the children not to get into the mobile phones, and now they've all moved to mobile phones. So this is actually having an impact, and now realizing this, to take care of the mental health of the children and the overall development, sports is an integral part. And the government has also considered this, and as a result of which now NEP 2020 in India also is changing the curriculum. They are having subjects like physical education and wellness, happiness curriculum and all of this. So with respect to sportsmen, it is important that the existing curriculum, we tweak it a little bit. If it is tweaked a little bit, we can bring it down to the level of sportsmen, because for sportsmen, actually for them, education is not priority. They want to be more into sports. So as a result of which, we need to bring it down to their level. To bring it down to their level, we really need to lower the level of classroom transaction and and the curriculum that is required, we just need to deliver that much to ensure that the basic education is taken care of, and thereafter we give them subjects that would really make them more employable, because as you know that sportsmen, their life in sports is very limited, maybe for 30 to 32 years, that's it, they are on the field, and thereafter maybe they could be more employable if they are taught if vocational guidance is given to them, and then they can become coaches, they can become managers of the team, they can become groundsmen, they can also be physiotherapists, and they can be trainers in the gym, so that everyone is employed with respect to their dream and passion, which is sports. And now in India we are really working hard, because we've seen small countries like Venezuela, Croatia also doing very well in Olympics. So in India now, Khelo India Khelo has come up, and this is something that is bringing, which is highlighting sports in India, and we all are now looking into a good education, a good curriculum being developed for sportsmen in India, so that we also have good representation from India in coming years in the Olympics, and also with respect to football and hockey and tennis and all other board games as well. That is chess and kho-kho and kabaddi and things like this. So there's lots happening in India with respect to sports. So we've come down to the curriculum and school level, and work is in progress for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sagarika. And I also would like to tell you that we have developed MBA in Sports Management now.
Yes, there is MBA in Sports Management.
From grade 9 onwards.
Oh, from grade 9
Yes,
onwards.
and it is in collaboration with Armenian government. So I'm part of this particular program. So I know about it, and we are encouraging students from grade 9 to take part in such programs. And we need good sports managers also, along with sportsmen. We also need sports managers. So thank you so much for this answer. Now my next question goes to Dr. Vijay Singha, Director General of NITA. Sir, I would like to ask you that the skill education. Yesterday you spoke a lot about knowledge and skill, and the pandemic has very well showed us that only on base of knowledge you are not going to earn a living. We also need to learn some skills. And if you see the current statistics, I'll just tell you the statistics of India versus South Korea. We have just 2% of Indians who are skilled in some or the other type of skill, whereas in South Korea it's 64% of the population who are skilled in some or the other vocation. So you as the Director General of NITA, sir, what type of program do you suggest for Sri Lanka and other South Asian countries to develop the skills, the skill percentage of skill learning in our countries?
Yeah. Okay. First, I will thank you for inviting me to share my ideas with this forum. First, I would like to explain first. Now, we are now talking about the SDG goals. So, quality education is your mandate. So, as he told, compare the India and South Africa. So, very huge difference. Sure, yes, because I know I've been in Korea 5 years, so I know their skills very well. Because first I explain what is the reason, like South Korea very in higher level, why not we are in low level, the skill education. So in South Korea actually they mainly focus skills, not the theoretical. Theoretical class also they do in their education system, but they are more concerned about the skill. For example, the South Korea, they always try to adapt the technology rather than they develop the technology. They are very copycats, very good copycats. Actually, the copycats is not true. Actually, when we know that, we just laughing, but actually real thing is that because there is before come to the innovation age, first we have to do the copy. Okay, it is in my PhD also I did also say when my supervisor asked, so I went to a very big institute in Korea, standards. So he asked me to develop some quality measurements for our measurements, but the quality. Then he gave me the paper. So Just I asked, this is a paper before done somewhere with the camera. So what can I do for this? For my PhD, I have to do new things. So he advised me, first you do this. Yeah. So then I read the paper and relative other papers also I read very well. Then I start. Then I also know clue how to do this research. Then I start the copy. The same system I try. Then I go to try, I tried. Then I understood. There is some problem even in this system also. We can do more things. So that then I have to develop my skills. So at that time I have to this all instrumentation, testing, all things I had to learn. But I am a physics person, but I can do. But I have to learn soft skill. Every skill I realize I have to learn myself and I have to develop this skill. So then I develop myself. At the night I do another thing. Daytime I do research. Then I start to develop skills myself. So then I learn programming, computer interpreting. Then we go with this path. Then I realize I can go for new things. When we go to path, then I saw several paths, new innovation. So that time I learned skill development is variation. That is the difference of Korean people. They one thing very well they learn. Not to everything. They skill one thing, they focus and they do. That is the difference between that people and us. Because we learn everything, but we are not skillful. That is the yeah. So sometimes I show some people do something very accurate than machines because they develop the skills. So then we do have to have some quality system to do that. They are very concerned that skill. In Sri Lanka now I will come to the question. Actually we also have to, as an ITA, we also have to develop skill education, vocational education. So what we realize, we do skill education, but sustainable, we have to go for quality infrastructure. What we understood, because I also have very good background in quality, because I earlier worked as a laboratory. So quality, as you know, all over the world, now quality is the common language. So if we go to product, earlier we develop our product, not tested, we export other countries, then they are check the quality. Then if fail, what will happen? Is come down and all our expenditure no mean. So then quality infrastructure we have to develop in the country. In Sri Lanka, quality infrastructure develop start actually in 2000, around 2000. Then this all European Union, our products, we bring to quality infrastructure. Similarly, now I understand, so I am happy to say in Sri Lanka first ISO qualified laboratory did myself for metrology, so measurements. So now I am here, so I understood here also now we persons in ISO system, there is a quality maintenance system for ISO 17024 that is especially certified quality person quality, and then we can adopt that for skill education. For example, if we have curricular development, then we have to follow that quality guidelines. So it's best practice to be, if we can adopt even in childhood, curriculum we development, some others we development, everything if we can follow ISO guidelines for quality certification, then all over the world same, even Sri Lanka, India, no matter. If we adopt that quality system ISO 24, then everybody same. So I think my message in skill education, Sri Lanka actually in NITA we do very great job for skill development, but to integrate the other world we should go to maintain the quality and sustainability. So we need adopt the ISO system for this education also for everything. Then that way we can harmonize all over the world, skill development and other things, because there's everything there and we can follow, and we have some procedures. When we adopt the quality system, we have to go some procedures. We cannot do our own way. So that is the quality system. If we can implement the education system, is still not much. But we start as an ITA for our skill education. I know our some areas we are very good, but when we go to the global level, they don't know our system. Then we have to adapt that kind of policy. Then they know that is equalized. So that way we think, and we already start that skill quality management system, adopt the quality management system for skill education for personal certification system. Then it's recognized all over the world.
Thank you so much. It's like the QMS and the EMS is supposed to be, we need to follow them, and we also need standardized SOPs, overall, which are acceptable globally. And rightly said by you, sir, originality is the key word for India as well as Sri Lanka. We are originals, we don't copy. And rightly said by you, we are not, we don't like to copy anyone. So we would also be working on a lot of things which will develop our children in the originality. My next question goes to Mr. Niranjan Disanaike. Sir, I would like to ask you that since teachers are the ones who creates the doctors and engineers, everywhere. Teachers are the one who create other professions. So what do you think should we do to sensitize the teachers? Because in India we have seen that there are people come to teaching by chance and not by choice. So if we want teachers to become teachers on their own, on their own accord, I wish to become a teacher. So what should we do to increase, some type of reward system or incentives should be given to teachers so that they attract towards this profession and they create good individuals in our country?
Thank you, Doctor. So I'm not an educationist, I'm from the private sector. I have almost 35 experience in the private sector, so from the private sector perspective, I'll try to answer this question. Quite a difficult and a sensitive question to ask, how to attract. Of course, what I can tell you is, I can explain to you how the private sector, number one is attract talent, retain talent, and grow. So one thing is not like in the earlier days that once you recruit an employee, that you are 100% assured of retaining with financial or monetary benefits. I think it may apply to the subject in discussion as well. So here we see a huge different shift from the traditional ways of treating our employees. So one of the things is that there is a common thinking that the success of an organization depends on how best you train your employees. So I'm sure that this also applies. Then what do the employees expect from the organization? So is it only the salary? Is it only the increments? Is it only the bonuses? Is it only whatever the allowances, trips given? No. So now we see, and as Mr. Javasundar explains, there's a huge. Today we have about 5 or 6 generations. If you take organizations, organizations also have the same, I could say, situation. So you have at times traditionals as well serving the booths. And then you have the baby boomers, and then you have the next generation, and then you have the millennials, new coming in. So in such a situation, we see one thing is you need to groom successors. I'm sure it applies to your sector as well. So one of the things what we have understood is that people now come to any kind of employment expecting a career. So we focus on a career enhancement. And we have found through research, and it's proven that in such a situation, financial benefits are very important. But of course, now it is becoming almost kind of secondary if you want to sustain or retain your talent. So we see people want to come to organization and improve their skills, improve their knowledge, to be recognized, ensure they are being given the opportunity of enhancing their careers, promotions, and also they wish to work in a better environment, great place to work. I'm sure that you would have found recently, a lot of the organizations are adapting, and there's a standard called, international standard called great place to work. So people now look at places, where you have the right environment to work, to ensure that you have a better career, a career enhancement, and the company which will take care of you. How do you take care? Again, go back to same, a training. So I'm sure in this career as well, I'm sure that you will be having people coming into the teaching career, and should they be teachers forever? And that's a question. So with that, let me go to the next level. So therefore, then they have to be trained to ensure they adapt, they apply, they change, they make a career, and someday, if possible, they become self-sustained. So today, the organizations, we are also talking that you convert your employees into entrepreneurs. Because entrepreneurs are very independent, they make good decisions. So if I am to conclude, then I also try to relate it to your career or your field of what you're involved in. So, if you take a factory, what happens is you have the inputs, right? And then there is a machine to process, and there is output. So that's how a machine or factory works. The same thing applies in employees or to the employees as well. So if you are an employer, you need to bring in some inputs to the organization. And you are responsible for a certain amount of process, and also you are responsible for a certain amount of output. Now the input is knowledge, skills, what you bring in. So if you are a teacher, I'm sure that I can see, there are a lot of discussions, what is expected, with the changing world, the adoption, new knowledge, things changing, how to grow. So this knowledge is required. And continuous, and I heard someone saying about Kaizen, very much, which is being adopted in the private sector and in the commercial world. So you bring in, so knowledge is the input. And then the process. What is the process? Problem solving. So you bring in knowledge, and how you apply knowledge is in a machine always, machine, even though, machine is being said, you will have some kind of issue. So even when you're managing, when you're teaching, always there'll be problems. So problem solving is very, very important. So for problem solving, you need to bring in that knowledge, skill, adoption, experience. So then it's experience-based second. And what is the output? Very important. I think it will be very much important to the private sector than the vocation you're involved in or the career you're involved in. Accountability. So finally you bring in input, you process, you solve the problem, and finally you have to be responsible. So responsibility is the output. So now here I can see a lot of discussion on how to adopt, how to develop new syllabuses, how to maybe think of new ways of teaching. So finally everything depends on what is the output. So output is the most important thing, because that's what the consumer buys, whether it's a service or whether it's a product. Finally, if you need to go to the market, if you need to go to the consumer, it's the output. For a company, in a commercial world, you will say it's a product, services, profit and quality, how do you delight the consumers. But of course, in the teaching world also, I'm sure it's how best you develop the right students. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And since you are from the private sector, I think we need to start internships for our students at an early age. That's, I think we are also trying to do the same, by involving students into early internship programs. The NEP says that, the new education policy of India. And now I would come to Ms. Rupa Sen. She's come with a rich experience in international education. So ma'am, my question to you is, does the education system broaden the perspective of students? Because we have different boards in India. We have children going, parents are confused, where should we put our children in? The central board or the ICSE or the state board, or we have IB. You also had an IB school. So what is your perspective about what type of education system is going to help students, and what do you think? And does it change the perspective of any board? Does it change the perspective?
I have worked in the Autonomous Board, the Central Board of Education for 15 odd years. Next 15 years, I have consciously migrated to the international curriculum to have a taste and understanding and an experience of how different are the international curricular process, output, and the desired outcome of those kids as against the biomarkers of Cambridge board, the CBSE board, which is our board. To me, I can tell you for sure, yes, they have their own standard compliances, and just now our esteemed panelists used this word. The output has to be measurable against international benchmarking. International curriculum does exactly that. So the output that comes out, which is our children, they are not products, they are children. We are the service providers in school. We ensure that the skills, along with a combination of academic rigor, is the most curated pathway in a way that they don't just grow, they grow to an individual and human being who is ready for the world, who, as the other esteemed panelists said, can even go to Korea and have the requisite skill to understand how to resolve issues and not reconcile that might taught this much and I need to resort to this. This is the biggest difference I found, and I have headed 3 schools and 1 CBSE school, and I see a major difference. It does let you shift your mind. You will have to, because it calls in for constant application, constant revisiting, and not remaining with the parameters of the curriculum. That's number 1. Number 2, with this, it becomes a, first of all, we set a habit. The habit then becomes a practice. Now today, my brain, if you ask me to come back to a CBSE curriculum, I will be really at a challenge, because my brain has got into a practice which is difficult for me to immediately take a switch mode and come back to the CBSE curriculum. Remember that no curriculum is bad or good. It's a way that we change the mind of our little ones. The generation that's coming out today are expecting a whole new shift in your mindset. So those who are sitting in front of me, 30 years ago I was like you. I started my career, and as a young teacher I wondered what to do with these wandering stars. I didn't know, because we had a guided pathway. And with that guided pathway, of course, my curious brain will never let me sit. I tried to bring about things that other teachers didn't do. And it was a forward-thinking approach, which I wasn't quite sure that if people are accepting that. I found that I got a validation when I moved to the international curriculum, because there you cannot use, we have something called, the guidance and curricular direction. We do not have the way how to teach. What to teach is given, but how to teach is absolutely the teacher's choice. And when I give you that choice, for example, the teacher who had directed the Fox story yesterday, let me come back to what you did yesterday. It was a fantastic creation of your brain, your innovative mind, because you had very little prop and you had very little time to come up with what you wanted to depict to an international gathering who do not understand your language. So in international curriculum exactly talks about things where language is not the language either of English, it's a language of the human mind. Expression can be done through the body, through emotion, and through our social skills. And they did it so wonderfully. It's a part of that journey that I am involved and engaged into. And today I call myself as a IB practitioner, because I can't say that I've learnt it all. It's an ever-changing, ever-learning education where today, sitting here 2022, tomorrow 2023 may enfold something completely new. I have to learn and immediately adapt. So the two things that we have to do as an IB practitioner, adapt, learn, move on. So we adapt something, we learn something, and again we have to unlearn to move on because that became obsolete. So you see, that's the difference in the curriculum. Now, therefore, I would not like to label as government curriculum wrong or an autonomous board like us is not the appropriate. It all depends on our human mind. How do we train ourselves, unlearn to learn ourselves, and then how do we impact our little fellows, the twinkling stars who come to your class with your creativity. I think that's the difference. Thank you so much.
Right, very right. And I think that is the takeaway from this panel discussion, that change is the only constant.
Yes.
We all need to change. To have, to enhance the quality education, we need to all change. And there really requires a paradigm shift in the entire system, the education system of our countries especially. And I think today's panel we got a lot of enrichment from everyone. Because we have all different people from different areas here, and we are really energized. I think we must have empowered the teachers sitting here through the enlightened messages given to us all by the panel. Thank you so much, everyone, for the messages you have already.
Thank you.
Thank you for your moderation.